Hi everyone, warm welcome. Very pleased to be here. Hopefully you're all having a good conference. You have got your extra steps in over the last 3 days. In this session, what we wanted to do was highlight outcomes and how outcomes and having the right strategy led to the right tech solution. While you will see a lot of tech solutions around, for us, we are extremely pleased to partner with AWS and Max and drive sustainable outcomes. So it is great pleasure to share the stage with our client, Manish. What we will briefly talk about is, who's Max Life, and followed by the digital transformation roadmap, starting with strategy and how the strategy has been realized with a proper tech solution, and what were the business impact outcomes. So with that, Manish, over to you. Yeah. And introduce Max Life. Yeah, there you
go. Good morning. I'm extremely excited to be here in talking about Max Life digital transformation journey in collaboration with AWS and PwC. Quickly to talk about Max Life Insurance. Max Life Insurance operates in India. It's a joint venture between Max Financial Services and Axis Bank. Axis is a leading private bank in India. We have about 4.2 million customers and about 5 million policies, active policies. Max Life has already written $130 billion of sum assured, and it has about $16 billion of asset under management. Max Life operates in 398 branches across India, about 22,000 employees, supported by another 80,000 agent advisors who sell policies for Max Life Insurance on a commission basis. We are a financial healthy organization. Our solvency ratio is 1.27. And one important metric on this is our claim paid percentage. This number is total number of claims logged versus total number of claims paid by an insurance organization within a given year. We are number one on this metric 4 years in a row now, and it's a very, very important metric. India tracks it very closely and important for our business. On this slide, it just talks about what sets us apart in the journey so far. Max Life began in 2001. We have been in operation for 23 years now. Some of the key milestones at the bottom, I'll just touch upon, are tie-ups with important banks. Bank insurance is very important for us. About 65% of our business revenue comes from banks. In 2005, tie-up happened with Yes Bank. In 2010, with Axis Bank, who is now our JV partner. About 55% of our revenue comes from Axis Bank. It talks about how steadily the asset under management is increasing and how the claims paid percentage has been increasing year on year. Two important data points on this slide is that despite the socio-economic challenges, including COVID in last 5 years, while the entire insurance industry in India grew by a lower single-digit percentage, Max Life reported a healthy 15-year CAGR growth over past 5 years. And for this year, our target is to garner about $1 billion of premium income, new business premium income, and about $2 million of renewal income. So that's Max Life. Hamsi?
Thank you. Thank you, Manish. So we've been fortunate enough as PwC to partner with Max at a very pivotal point, just when some of the background challenges and industry forces that Max was dealing with, we have partnered with them initially for cloud transformation. The first tranche of work that we have helped them with was moving their workloads to cloud securely, followed by modernizing some of their core applications. And now, over the last 12 plus months, we have been involved in modernizing their data estate, first initially by setting up a data lake, followed by data modernization initiatives and also API modernization initiatives. So very pleased to be part of this journey. Very privileged to be associated with a brand like Max Life. But I think it's important to understand how did this journey start? And as I said at the beginning, for us, driving outcomes and helping achieve sustainable outcomes is critical. And for us, tech comes closely next to how do you solve some of these business problems. So Manish, if I can request you to walk us through the conceptualization of strategy, and then how did cloud help achieve those strategic measures? That'll be great.
Sure. So this is the comprehensive strategy which we laid out 3.5 years back. It's a pretty heavy slide, but I'll just dissect it for all of you. But before we get into the slide, it is important to note that what was the context when we created this slide. There were three important things which we had in our mind when we were creating it. One, the consumer behavior in India was changing a lot. The millennials, the Gen Z, they were dealing with the platforms like e-coms, Olas, and Ubers. Instant gratification, one and done. All these things were table stakes, and even banks, all the transactions, nobody has to walk to bank branch. Everything is online, and therefore, for insurance company also, it had become very, very important that we provide all of our services on a DIY portal rather than asking consumers or customers to walk in or interact with agents. The other two things which are important was one, because of regulation changes, the competition in India was becoming very fierce. For example, in banks, earlier there was only one insurer who was allowed to sell policy for that bank, but with the regulation changes, there are about 9 insurance companies who can sell on the same counter, and therefore the competition between the insurers on a bank counter becomes so fierce that winning in that competition became very important. The third important thing which happened was that at one point of time, the process of launching an insurance product in India was about 2 to 3 months process, but some regulation changes happened and that process was relaxed. And from there, what has happened is, what we used to do about 3 years back, say 5 to 6 interventions of products in a year, that changed to about 40, which we are doing as of now. So 5 to 40, that is a kind of change which was brought in because of these regulation changes. And it is reasonable to understand that setting all those changes up and rolling it out to field on a legacy infrastructure wouldn't have been possible. So that is why we kind of drafted this strategy, and it has 9 pillars in it. And if you will notice, there are 5 vertical pillars, and then there are 4 horizontal pillars. Okay, the 5 vertical pillars are aligned with our top business objectives, and then these 4 verticals are not business objectives, but they are required to deliver these 5 objectives. That's how it is thought through. So number one, the first 3 are about new business sales. So number one is our e-commerce business. While I told you that we are the 4th largest life insurance company in India, but when it comes to e-com business protection, we are number 1 in India consistently. And it was very important for us to kind of continue that lead, and therefore that was one key thing which is on this slide. A growth of organic traffic, about 100%, that's the target we took. Onboarding and issuance, about 1 in 5 policies come from onboarding or from our e-commerce platform. The rest of the policies are sourced by our offline feet on street, our sellers. It was important to create a very comprehensive solution for them, so that they are able to kind of sell policies, create very good experience, and we should be able to issue those policies without any human intervention, and therefore insta issuance, which essentially means over-the-counter issuance, and humanless underwriting, because we underwrite the risk, was key KPIs which we took over there. Digital sales, all of our distribution was manual at that point of time when we created this strategy. We had about 200 branches at that point of time. In 3 years, we have scaled up to 400. I just shared that on the previous slide. This kind of ramp up wouldn't have been possible unless or until there is digitization, so that you are able to kind of copy paste that frame in every subsequent branch, centrally monitor it, and then make them productive as quickly as possible. So that was the third vertical. The fourth one, like I said, is customer servicing. Enabling self-service to about 85% of transactions was one of our aspiration at that time. And then enterprise. Some of the enterprise systems, while they are back-end, but they are important for enforcing policies. Say, our treasury system releases the NAV, which is used for enforcement of policy. If that gets delayed, policies won't get issued. Similarly, the anti-money laundering checks, Indian regulations necessitates that the checks are done before you issue the policy. So those systems were supposed to be, kind of spruced up so that they support issuance. Along with security, we knew that we are going to embrace cloud, and security is going to become key focus for us. So that became the fifth vertical. Now talking about horizontals, our AI ML work, analysis which can be embedded so that the systems of engagement can create the wow, and we are able to give the right kind of nudges, the next best actions for our sellers, customers, and employees was one horizontal. Our enterprise data hub, from the siloed data sources to one comprehensive data lake architecture, one enterprise data hub, along with the modernization of legacy systems, because that wouldn't have been possible without it, was another horizontal layer. And last, 8 and 9th, enough has been spoken about it in last 3 days on this, the digital talent and digital culture. How do we bring in, how do we attract new talent who will be able to do this, execute it, and at the same time, how do we build this culture across the organization so that everybody starts seeing it the same way, start moving in the same direction, and helps us deliver this. So what we did was that we worked on 4 dimensions, and out of these 4 dimensions, if you look at the bottom left corner, which is the digital first culture, that is a dimension which is about people and processes. The remaining 3 dimensions are where we leverage cloud. But I have mentioned this 4th one also over here because it is important to understand that unless or until we work on this dimension, we will not be able to achieve anything, because after all, we need people and processes to deliver what we aimed for. So the first one is customer engagement at scale. Like I said, all of our front-end assets, wherever the customer's interactions are happening, we refactored all of them. So typically 3, our e-com platform, our onboarding journey, which was being used by our offline sellers to sell policies, and our customer service portal, through which the customers were coming for servicing. What the way the reality emerged in India is that for our onboarding journey, the business is set up in such a way now that out of 30 days of business, there are definitely 3-4 days out of those 30 days when the business volume is about 4 or 5 times of the usual volume of the other days. This kind of variability in the business wouldn't have been possible on a traditional architecture. So therefore, we built a complete cloud native solution for our onboarding journey. Similarly, being on top of Google search was extremely important for our e-com. The delivery of sub-second page load time, having best of the best content, creating the best-in-class experience was important for us to remain number one in e-com channel, and that's what we did through this. And eventually, we reached to about 89% of self-servicing through our digital corporate portal. The second is legacy transformation. Again, we picked up a multi-model strategy here. There were plethora of applications, middleware as well as our core policy admin system. We refactored, rehosted, and replatformed depending on what kind of application was there. To talk about one of the example, our policy issuance and underwriting system, it had workflow. What we did was we changed and we reconfigured it in such a way that rather than coding our business rules, now we were configuring them. It integrated with all the publicly available APIs, bank APIs, so that rather than asking information from customers it takes that information automatically from those trusted sources, eliminating humans from validating the information which is coming in, and therefore enabling insta issuance. The other thing is our core policy admin system. No matter how good we do in our front-end applications, it's extremely important that we are able to process everything within the same day and then pass on that information to our data store, so that from there the analytics can be passed on to the front-end assets to engage with the customers. So we have 2 months back rehosted our core policy admin system also, and we are the first life insurer in India to do that, to put our core policy admin system on cloud, and we are also the second life insurer in the world to do that. So that's what we did. Data-driven enterprise, enough has been spoken about data also in past 3 days. What we needed was to move from data silos to a data lake architecture, which will enable real-time availability of data for reports, analytics, data. And the other thing is all of our AI ML models, because now that we had our front-end assets, the velocity, volume, and the variety of data had changed dramatically. We needed a common place where we could store all this data and then run AI ML models on top of it to kind of enable decisioning at the time of customer engagement. To give you a couple of examples, in order to kind of issue policies on the fly, we had to raise our limits of underwriting rules, and therefore so that more policies can pass through. But that would have brought in a lot of risk. In order to cater to that, we wrote a lot of AI ML models, which, depending on the demography, geography, and the age, education, the income of the customer, it was pointed. It was actually surgically taking out some of the customers, not all, and raising them as high risk customers, so that more due diligence can be done on that, and so that we don't take any undue risk on our books. The other examples are some of the AML models we have written to enable our customer servicing, so that we are able to anticipate who are the customers who are likely to lapse their policies, who are the customers who are likely to surrender their policies, so that we can upfront go out, engage, and retain them. Last but not the least is digital first culture. I must share 2 things. One, getting in the right kind of resources, setting them in our environment, and at the same time, upskilling our existing resources so that people can work in harmony with each other. They can empathize with each other's point of view. Truly setting up a structure so that not only digital technology but people in business also are educated and upskilled, so that they are able to together work, was one key thing which we picked up over there. The other thing is right kind of processes, right from top to bottom. Setting up processes like DevSecOps, setting up rituals with management so that they understand what is being done, what is our cloud journey, and how we are, so that we get right kind of sponsorship, right kind of resource commitment from the overall organization, and we move forward together is something which we did in this vertical. So all in all put together, after doing this, we have been able to move all of our front-end systems, of engagement on cloud. About 70% of our workloads at this point of time running on clouds, and within about, say, next 2 quarters, and that is our data journey, which we are working with PwC on, is going to get completed in next quarters, and then about 85-90% of our workloads pretty much are going to be on cloud, and that, while it's a continuous journey, but that's a landmark in our cloud transformation journey.
So thank you so much, Manish. I don't know if you picked up on these three points. Number one, in terms of e-commerce policy volumes in India, the first in India to move the core system to cloud, the second in the world to move to cloud, the core system. So those are some really impressive numbers, and also other things on the slide I'm not going to drain. So Manish, with this kind of success, I'm sure the journey would have had its own set of experiences and learning. So, just as a last point, if you were to share in this impressive journey some fantastic outcomes for the business, what is your single largest takeaway that you can share with fellow CXOs who are on a similar journey or planning a similar journey?
Okay, so I have a couple, and I'll just divide it into two buckets. One is when you're on the journey, when you're beginning the journey. I think 2-3 things which are very important is one, keeping your management in your camp. It's very important to reach out, engage, let them know it's a very long-term commitment. There are going to be highs and lows. You will make mistakes, tons of mistakes, but it's very important that everybody sees it the same way and be with you and understand the benefits of it. The other thing is that data cannot be an afterthought. A lot of we also kind of made that mistake. We started our data journey a little late with PwC, but we also wish that we could have started a little sooner. But the point is, you will be able to extract best value out of the cloud only and only when you're able to juice out, when you're able to monetize the data which you're getting generated from there. The other side is, once you have done significant part of that journey on cloud, I think FinOps becomes very, very important. If you just take your eyes off it, it can really burn a very big hole in your pocket, and that can raise a lot of questions on what you guys have done and what you guys have achieved. So therefore, very, very important FinOps. Continuous focus on security is another very, very important matter. And I'll just add one more, last but not the least. Set the expectations right, specifically on your core systems. It's very easy to say that you will be able to migrate in, say, maybe 3 months, 6 months. But when it comes to complexity of your legacy applications, what our experience tells us that there is always a long tail. Setting up right expectation with your management, with your business stakeholders is always important. That while you will be able to move a large chunk, but then there is a long tail, and all of us will have to continuously work on it and move forward together. That's what we do.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Manish.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.